Welcome to the Pluxbox tutorial on how to establish a many-to-many relation. We already talked about establishing a one-to-many relation in the scenario of countries and cities. Now, consider a scenario with movies and actors, where an actor can appear in multiple movies, and a movie can feature multiple actors. For that you need to establish a many-to-many relation. Let's start by creating a collection for actors. Click on the new collection and name it Actors. The system name will be generated automatically. Add an element titled Name to the data structure with the input type set to Text. This is for displaying the name of actors. We also want to have pictures of them, so add another element called Image, again with the input type set to Text. Then add a new element called Movies, and set its input type to Relation. Save this collection. Now let's create the second collection for movies. Add an element titled Name to the data structure with the input type set to Text. Then, add another element called Actors, but this time set its input type to List. And from here choose Relation for the list. Then we go to the Work Data Overview to establish the relation between the collections by creating Stitch. First, let's drag from the Actors attribute of the Movies collection to the ID attribute of the Actors collection. Select the Simple mode and click on the Create Stitch button. Then drag from the Relation attribute of the Actors to Relation Actors data. Again select the Simple mode and create Stitch. We have successfully connected the two collections. Now you should put data in each collection. First we select Actors and in the name field we write Cillian Murphy. Then we try to find an image of him. And we copy the image URL and paste it in the field for image. After adding Cillian Murphy, you can see the ID of this data. Copy this code and go to the Movies collection. Add a movie, for example Oppenheimer. Then in the field of Relation Actors Data ID, click to add elements and paste the code for Cillian Murphy. Now let's add another actor. How about Emily Blunt? Again try to find an image of her, copy the image URL and paste it in the field for image. Then copy the code for Emily Blunt and go to Movies collection and add her to Oppenheimer movie 2. You can add other actors and movies in the same way. Now that we add all the data, if we for example click on Movies relation of Tom Hanks, we can see his movies. We are done with creating the collections and relations. Let's see how we can use this data. I prepared a user interface for showing the list of actors and their famous movies. Let me explain the elements of this UI. We have a main container at the center and another container in it. For the main container, the direction is set to right so that the containers inside go next to each other and the space between the elements is set to 15 pixels. The second container has 3 elements in it. The first one is a container for the names of actors. So there is a text element in it. The second one is an image element. You can add it from here, choosing Image. The last container has a text element for names of movies and also a rectangle for color. If you choose the position of the text element relative, you have to give it a depth of 1. Also, the direction of the second container is set to bottom and the space between elements is 20 pixels. Now, let's start making the logic. First, to get data, add a load event to the view. Next, insert the live list block and choose actors from the collection. Connect the load to the start attribute of the live list. Now that we have access to the data in our collection, we will use a getData block to extract data from the live list. Let's connect the collection result to the getData object attribute. If you hover on the result, you can see what structure of data you can have. Since we want the list of objects, we type edges for the path. As we are accessing a list of items, we use a loop list and connect the getData to the loop list block. Hover on the value in the Get Data block. As you see, if we type node, the structure of data will be an object. Then, click on this container and connect the loop list component attribute to the drag data attribute of the selected container. Now we need to go inside the loop list block, so double-click on it. Here we need to connect blocks, so let's start with the Get Data block and connect it to the input of the loop list. For the path we again type node. Now you need to add the second Get Data block and connect it to the first one. If you hover on value, you can see the structure. We can see all the elements like name, image, and movies. We want to show actors' names, so type name in the path. This is an element that we have already chosen inside the collection. Then select this text element and connect the value attribute of the block to the value attribute of this element. To show the pictures of actors, type image in the second path of the same block. This is also another element that we have already chosen inside the actors collection. Then select the image element and connect the value attribute of the block to the image source. As you can see here, we had another input named movies. So, for the third path, type movies. Now we need another Get Data block to get data from movies collection. Connect them together, and in the path type edges. For accessing the list of movies, we need another loop list. Connect it to the Get Data block, and for the path, type node. Then select the text element for movies. Connect the loop list component to the value attribute of the text element. As you know, we need to double-click the new loop list and create blocks inside it. First we insert a Get Data block to extract data from the movies collection, and we type node for the path. Then we need another Get Data block. Connect it to the other block and type name for the path. For the last step, again select the text element for movies and connect the value attribute of the block to the value attribute of the text element. We are done with the logic blocks. Let's check the result. As you can see, now we have a list of actors with their images and their best movies. And you can see that some actors played in the same movie. Thank you for watching this tutorial.